This video is brought to you in collaboration with WoWhead.com. Hello everyone. Being on lockdown, it hasn't changed a whole lot of my daily routine, but I have finally finished up part 3 of the Traveler series, so it's time to cover its story and shine a spotlight on this little gem of lore. In case you've never heard of the Traveler series before, back in 2016, this is the trailer we got.
We all grew up playing this game, even if we worked on it. We grew up playing in Azeroth and playing these worlds, and we kind of want to share the experience of Azeroth with our kids. What if we crafted a story that was younger, a story from a kid's point of view? How would they see the world of Azeroth? And so that led us to coming up with the Traveler conceit.
So it reaches both the hardcore fan and the newbie. I want this to be a book that someone who's been playing World of Warcraft for 10 years will read it and go, yeah, that is the book I've been waiting for. You know, this is a story set in this world that really gets what World of Warcraft is. I want to make sure that we get it right, that this is canon, that this is in continuity. So we're going to make sure that everything is as dead on correct as it can possibly be.
A journey that began in November 2016, with the first and the second part written by Greg Weisman, and the final one picked up by Madeline Rowe. I really hope I pronounce these names right. The author who's also going to be doing the upcoming book for the Shadowlands, which is called Shadows Rising. One of my favorite parts about the series is that it takes place sometime after the Cataclysm rocked the world, so you get a glimpse of what life in Azeroth is like beyond what's portrayed in the game. But despite them wanting to have it line up with continuity, the timeline is a little bit hard to pin down. There might have been a couple of inconsistencies, but all in all, it is cool to see that, for example, Dire Maul, that has a new king, has been emptied out, or how they're having boat races in the Thousand Needles. These little nuggets, they're very nice to pick up. The writing style is aimed at a younger audience, but I personally still very much enjoyed it. And book 3, it does not shy away from the darker stuff. There is a bit of torture. Now in the trailer, they show off some amazing artwork, which didn't make it into the book. Aram is quite the artist, and visually shows off what his journey looks like, even showing us the first female ogres and female gnolls, but it's not the high quality as they showed in the trailer. If you ask me to describe the books without spoiling too much, I'd say that it's a lore series to discover the world of Warcraft. The title is wisely chosen as it's traveling across the world, a journey with highs and lows, visiting the inner workings of Azeroth in ways that the game is not able to show. It builds up a mystery surrounding the Naru and the Light, with some lore nuggets here and there, and, thankfully in my opinion, a satisfying ending. That's about all I can say without diving deep into the story. So if your interest has been piqued and you want to explore the mystery for yourself, then this will be the time to turn off the video, as I'll be covering the global story and highlight some of the things that stood out for me. While the first book introduces us to Adamar Thorne, the Traveler, our tale actually begins before all of this, with his father, Graydon Thorne, being a member of the Order of the Seven Sons. 7 of them there were, with Graydon and his brother Silverlane amongst them. They were called to protect a Naru, a being of pure light. It was foretold that this being could stop the so-called Dark Storm, a scheme pursued by the Dreadlord Xarax, a way to spread the corruption of the Legion across all of Azeroth, wipe out life as we know it here completely. Apparently, Azeroth is the only world to resist them. This is also mirrored in the Expansion Legion, and so it is that the Naru has lent its grace to shield the world. The Order dedicated their lives to their mission, with Graydon as their leader. They were to guard their shield against the malice of Xarax, until the brothers, they came in conflict with one another. The Naru had decided to give Graydon a diamond blade to help them with their task, a blade that he was to bestow upon whomever he deemed worthy. With Silverlane being the clear better swordsman, it should have gone to him. But Graydon's pride, it made him see the blade as the mark of a leader, and he decided to keep it for himself. They argued endlessly about it, until Silverlane had enough. One day, he simply stole the blade to fight Xarax and his minions alone. Brave, you might say, but also very foolish. Outnumbered, he survived the worst of the onslaughts. But at the last, Xarax tempted him to his side, with promises of power and even greater revenge, if he would side with the demons. The Dreadlord's worm tongue burrowed into Silverlane's mind, accepting what the demons offered. When he returned to the Order, he used the Diamond Blade to murder the Naaru. The impact shattered the weapon, and its shards scattered across Azeroth. Victory for the Legion, you might think, and for a while Graydon thought that it was all over. The Order as shattered as the Diamond Blade, and no one remaining to defend the world. Yet the world wasn't ending. It would take years until he figured out what was going on. In the meantime, he met Sia Northbrook in Stormwind Harbor. They fell in love, they moved to Lakeshire, and they had Aram. On their son's 6th birthday, Graydon just abandoned his family. Without a word, without an explanation. The voice of the light, it had told him that the blade contained the essence of the Naaru, and it could be reforged. That's why the Dark Storm never came. It couldn't, while the Naaru still existed in some form. There was still a chance to stop all of this darkness, a chance to mend this mistake, but it also meant leaving his beloved family to keep them away from the danger. A stupid choice, really, as the light soon revealed that Aram, he was a part of all of this. He would have his part to play. The voice told Graydon to return home and find his son, return to Lakeshire 6 years after he abandoned them. Aram, now 12 years old, had at first not wanted to believe that his father actually abandoned them. Childhood fantasies of Graydon being stolen away from Lakeshire by orcs or trolls or murlocs or ogres, they seemed far more acceptable to him. 3 years it took him to truly believe that his father had left on his own accord, that Graydon Thorne had actually abandoned his wife and son, on his birthday nonetheless, by his own choice. His mother had shed her fair share of tears over her husband, but in time she found new love with the blacksmith Rob Glade. 2 years after being abandoned, she remarried, even had more children, Robertson and Celia. The dog suit completes the family picture, and it took Aram quite a while to warm up to Rob, but in time they grew close, making plans for Aram to step into his footsteps and become a blacksmith himself. Now with his father at the doorstep, offering what he had dreamed of so many times. Offering to sail the world at his father's side, explore the great wide world of Azeroth. Those plans of making him a blacksmith, they were put on hold, as his parents agreed that he should see more of the world. He should get to know his father. So it was that he joined the crew on the Wavestrider. But the feelings of resentment and abandonment, they stood between them as a mighty wall. Aram, he didn't really want to be there, so the lessons and the wisdom that his father tried to share, he didn't give it his all. He wasn't fully committed. Something he would regret soon enough, and something that irked Makasa Flintwill greatly. Makasa is the 4th child of Marjani Flintwill, captain of the pirate ship Makemba. Her 4 children, Makasa included, they all have different fathers. Fathers that aren't exactly in the picture, but they didn't matter much. Marjani was both mother and father, training her children well. The Blackwater Raiders profiteered greatly under the leadership of their tough and independent captain. But they did sail with somewhat of a moral code. They would rob you poor and sail off with your loot, but they weren't out to kill and murder. Bad for business, really, as the dead can't restock, nor are people willing to surrender their spoils if they know they're going to die anyways. This is not a code followed by the other pirates, like the Bloodsail Buccaneers, who boarded the ship that Makasa was on, together with her 3 brothers. All her siblings lost their lives to Captain Ironpatch. She would have joined them as well, was it not for Graydon Thorne and his Wavestrider crew. They'd seen the conflict go down, and they figured that 2 ships against 1, that it wasn't quite fair. To even the odds, they silently sneaked on board, giving the Bloodsails the fight of their lives, allowing Makasa to break free and avenge her brothers, slay Captain Ironpatch, and send the Bloodsails running. Now, feeling like she owes a blood debt to Graydon, she offers her services to him. Eventually, he agreed, accepting her on board as his second mate. From the deck of the Wavestrider, Makasa stood, watching her life as a pirate sail away, as minutes earlier she had watched her family sink into the depths. She was too hard, too flinty to cry. But when Captain Thorne had come up behind her and put a hand on her shoulder, she came very, very close. He said, "Come to my cabin, second mate, and tell me of your life." And she had. And he listened, and he offered her words of comfort. And for the first time, and from that point on, Makasa Flintwill knew the love of her father. which would make Aram something like her brother. But a bond like that, it would take quite a while to develop, and his behavior towards his father, her savior, it didn't exactly help. Now, the whole background information that I told you about the light and the diamond blade, Graydon's history and actual mission, all of that is kept pretty hidden in the books, not fully revealed until the final parts. Which means that his son and somewhat adopted daughter, they sail with him, blissfully unaware of the mission that he's truly on. On the opposite side, there's a faction, a group of people called the Hidden, in search of Graydon and his magical compass, which guides the way to the shards needed to reforge the blade and save the day, or for the Hidden's cause, secure that the Darkstorm would happen, as they're in league with Sarax. Meaning that Silver Lane Thorne, going by the name of Malice, he's in charge. At his side is the central mercenary Zafra with her scorpion pet Skitter, the Arakoa Sarbik, eventually joined by his sister Savra, the Ogre Trog, eventually joined by Karga, and the Whisper Man, a forsaken rogue mercenary. In life, part of the SI-7, holding the name Baron Regal Valdrad. Their band eventually tracks down the Wavestrider as Graydon shows Aram the ropes, trading with races like Knowles and Thorne, showing his son how to look beyond his own race and look for the details, similarities that bind them. Profits can be found in many places after all, and one shouldn't exclude another simply because they didn't understand them. And to help him see these details, Aram makes use of his artistic skills. He sketches those that they meet in a journal, given to him by his stepfather. Good magic, they call it, and it's this good magic that allows him to keep an open heart to those that they will encounter on their travels. Make many friends and build alliances that not only seemed impossible, but would come in handy near the end. Friends that he would desperately need as the battle between the Hidden and the crew of the Wavestrider. It doesn't end well. Aram is given the compass, told to protect it at all costs since they've run out of time. Graydon is sorry for everything. Sorry that he doesn't have time to explain. But the compass is going to show his son where he needs to go. Makasa's debt to him is collected by ordering her to keep his son safe. The Dingy is lowered into the waters, while Graydon turns around to meet his ultimate end. Or at least that's what Aram and Makasa believe. Graydon's brother, he actually takes him captive for some delicious torment on Outlands, while his son and somewhat adopted daughter, they go out on their travels.
And through, a series of unfortunate events, he washes up on the shore at the far end of the world, and ultimately with some of the lessons that Dad taught him and a magic compass. Aram's got to find his way home.
And so the journey of the traveler begins, taking him to many places on Azeroth. If you want to know all the little details, then I definitely suggest picking up the books. Here's a quick summary of what they do and some of the more interesting stuff. They wash up in Feralis, Ogre territory, where they find a Murloc called Murky, tangled up in his own nets. He is saved and joins the little party. Next, they meet a friendly druid called Telis Grey Oak, who actually speaks a bit of Murloc. Soon enough, they find themselves captured and taken to Dire Maul to fight for the ogre's amusement. In the arena, Eramar befriends their fellow captives, like the Tauren Wool Breeze Rider, Woolbeard as they call him, and the Gnoll warrior Hackle, all through that good magic in the drawings and picking up some of the lessons of his father. Eventually, the Hidden tracks them down in Dire Maul, and Malice even claims the title of King Gordak, the King of Dire Maul, while Aram and their crew manage to escape with the aid of Old One Eye, befriending her by setting her and her cubs free. Malice, he then empties out Dire Maul and puts the ogres on the task of tracking down the compass. But their escape, it was not a complete success. The druid companion, he got shot in the back by Zafra, and dies shortly after they reach safety. While Aram and Makasa, they have their quest of figuring out what is going on with the compass and these strange shards. Telis, he was on the quest of bringing a seed to a night elf druid, Farina Springson in Getch's son. That quest, his final wish, is passed on to them, with the warning of not letting the seed get wet. En route to the Thousand Needles and eventually Getch's son, they help Hackle reconnect with his tribe, earn back his spots, and even bring peace between the local gnolls and the Feral Scar Yetis. All it took to unite them was a common enemy, the ogres that have been encroaching upon their lands. Now that seed gifted to them Of course, it accidentally hits water, and from it, the beautiful dryad Tarindrella blossoms. Hopefully, it doesn't mean that the quest is failed right away. A small detour to the Razorfen Downs, where Death Speaker Blackthorne is prevented from resummoning Aminar the Coldbringer. They then sail to the speed barge at the Thousand Needles, where they meet up with Gaslow and the brilliant leper gnome Gimbal Spy Sprockets. One of the shards that they're looking for is trapped underwater, so they're going to need Gaslow's help with excavating it. He agrees to help out, but he's still a goblin, so he will need something in return. Aramar is going to race for them underwater and earn quite a bit of money in the process. Even better, they earn Gaslow's friendship, something that they're going to make use of in just a moment. First, they travel close to the Gadgeston, right into a trap set by Zafra and the Sand Fury trolls. Chief Ukor Sandskelp helps out his tribe mate and plans to sacrifice our brave party to the Loa. This right here is probably one of the most interesting and most discussed parts of the series. The way it happens is that they're taken into Zul'Farak, where shadows seem to spread across the sand like oil, dyeing it black, and out of this black sand rose 3 black forms, amorphous and pulsing. Kimbo, Lord of the Beast, decides to refuse Makasa and Heko as sacrifices. In fact, he actually bows his head for them. Kimbo is Prey's doom, but Kimbo is the doom of no predator. I bow to honor you as my fellows. And the black tiger melted down in the black sand. There were murmurs from the trolls that were quickly hushed when the second Loa approached, taking the form of a huge black spider that skidded forward across the black sand, straight toward Drella. Shadra skidded forward on 8 black legs, then pulled up short. She reared back on 6 legs, and the 2 front legs swept the air, flailing like a child having a tantrum. You are not for Shadra. You are not for me. The trolls gasped again. Drella strode forward with confidence. I am Tarindrella, daughter of Cenarius. I am of that which grows, an avatar of bounty. There is no venom on this world that can harm me, no spider who is not my friend. And death is as natural as life. It is spring with me, Spider God, and I am not for you. The Loa attempted to turn toward Murky, attempting to take a different sacrifice. Murky swallowed audibly and took a step back, but Drella took another few steps forward, saying, He is not for you either, Mother of Venom. You will not take him. You will not have him. Not now, not ever. So says Cenarius' daughter. And the Spider Loa backed away from them both, nodding her head out of genuine respect or genuine fear. That left only one Loa to whisper his name and titles. Uitai no Mue'zahla, son of time and father of sleep, night's friend, god of death. His shadow grew and grew and grew, towering above them. The trolls sighed with rapture and perhaps with some relief. Aram tried to see what form the shadow was taking, but the Loa remained indistinct. Or rather, his form kept shifting, his shadow melting from one shape into another and another. He was a 12-foot troll. He was a giant lizard. For a second, he was Captain Malice, then a creature of burning black flame. Aram scrunched his eyes closed, and by the time he'd reopened them, the Loa, now a floating whale shark, was approaching a brave Murky who stood his ground. Aram had not been able to help Drella, but he'd be blasted if he was going to let this thing eat Murky. Maybe it was the form the Loa had taken. Murky had saved Aram from a whale shark's maw. It was a favor he was determined to return. With more effort than it had taken to move the slab of stone upon the crystal shard in the shimmering deep, Aram moved his feet. 1 step, 2 steps, 3, until he stood between death and the Murloc. Mue'zahla stopped. He shifted into a new form, a red-rimmed spectre in black, towering over all he surveyed. Aram girded himself for whatever was to come. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Makasa, Heko, and even Drella ready to come to his aid. He felt Murky's hand on his shoulder, gently urging him aside. But Aram was a stone that would not budge. It might not have been bravery, he knew. It quite easily might have been nothing more than paralyzing fear that kept him rooted to the spot. Still, whatever the cause, Aramar Thorne did not stir. Yute no Mue'zahla swayed back and forth hypnotically before Aram. Trolls and sacrifices held their breath. Finally, the sand whispered, Not yet, son of Thorne, not yet. This is not the day. That day comes, it comes, but Mue'zahla will not engage you here or now. Our battle is yet to come, but it will come, child. It will come. And if you lose that battle, Mue'zahla feasts on all of Azeroth. And Mue'zahla sank from view and was gone. Aram was so stunned, he didn't even see the final Loa melt back into the sand, or notice the torches brighten and the moon shine down. The whispered words, it will come, echoed in his mind. With the next expansion being all about the afterlife, the Shadowlands, a lot of excitement came from Mue'zahla. Some are wondering if this might be the mysterious jailer or the boss behind Mulsamdi, and if the story of the Traveler might be connected to death claiming the world. There have been some references here and there, but it would be pretty awesome to have Makasa and Aramar out on the high seas, a confrontation Mue'zahla, seeing the Loa for ourselves like they've done with Kimball and Shadra, but who knows what the next expansion is going to bring. To keep it on our travelers, they would leave the stun trolls behind in Zul'Farak and finally arrive in Cataclysm. Malice and his crew have also reached the city. Luckily, Gaslow had a thing with the wife of Baron Nargothrond. Sprinkle helps out their friends of her old romance with getting into the city undetected, so they can finish the quest of delivering the seed, or the Dryad, as the seed has become. And that is where the problem lies. As she blossomed into Tarandrella, she also imprinted, or bonded, on the first person she saw. That would be Aram, a bond that they already felt deep inside, and a bond that can only be safely broken by the Druid Master Taldera at Taldera Overlook. Seeing how Aram has found yet another shard in the city, now reforged the hilt of the blade, and their compass points towards Lakeshire, they're going to have to make a choice. Either they take Drella with them back home, or they go and visit the druids in the Stone Teller Mountains. Two paths their quest might take, ultimately deciding to help out Drella first, leaving Malice and his gang chasing down a false trail. But as it turns out, the bond between the boy and the Dryads, it's more than just imprinting. They seem to be connected by destiny, and the rituals that the Cenarian Circle tried to perform, they're ineffective. In the meantime, Aramar has learned about a mysterious uncle during his time in Getchistan, and he makes the brilliant choice of sending out letters to try and find him. Now, to be fair, he didn't know that Malice was actually his father's brother, so when news reached him that his uncle was hanging out at the Northwatch Expedition Base Camp, he walked right into a trap. Drella is slain by Malice and dies in Aram's arms. The boy himself is taken captive. The compass and the half-reforged sword now in the hands of the enemy, imprisoned next to his father, forced to endure the same torture at the hands of the demons. Luckily, the game isn't over quite yet, as the compass, it fell to the ground during the struggle and is now missing its shards. The shards stuck to the boot of the Whisperman, who tried to save Drella during their battle. He was thrown off the cliff for the efforts, but being a Forsaken means you can take quite a punch, and his body parts are recovered by Makasa and their crew, begrudgingly accepting his aid. She didn't quite realize why Valdred took such an interest in her. Her fighting style and looks, it reminded him of a woman that he had met many years ago, met while he was still alive, and shared a night of passion with. The Whisperman is actually her father, and over time, he earns her trust, even gives her training in the fine arts of fighting and strategy. They say their farewells to Drella, a beautiful pink and purple tree growing from the spots where they placed her. Makasa knew that the compass, it was pointed towards Lakeshire, which is Aram's home, so if there was a chance to save him, a chance to see out their quest to save the world, they would find it there. Gaslow comes through for them once again and gives them a lift. More shards were hidden around Graydon's home. They even meet the blue dragon Telegos, once asked by Graydon to keep one of the shards safe. With him, as well as the druids Jalena Stormspear added to their party, they have quite a fighting force, but no target to take out. Valdred provides the information that they need. His suspicions on where Malice would keep Aram and Graydon captive. Outland is the place where they need to go, but taking on the forces of the Legion is going to take more than what they got. All those that the Traveler encountered on his journey. The Yeti, Gnolls, Murlocs, and so many others. They're asked to lend their aid, and they actually do. They storm the Dark Portal, assault the Hidden Citadel, giving our party the opportunity they need to save the prisoners and confront Malice as well as the Dreadlord Zarax. Although Zarax was actually taken care of by Malice, the captain and betrayer of the Order was not happy with the way he's been treated. He pushes the Dreadlord into the Darkstorm, back to the Twisting Nether, to take charge of the Darkstorm and complete their plans himself. Makasa, reforged diamond blade in hand, she confronts him. For her, the weapon of the light, it turns into a harpoon. With her brother Aram and all their friends gathered, Malice is pushed into a corner and ultimately struck down. The demons in the sky, sensing their master's destruction, they dispersed, vanishing in every direction, nothing remaining but the distant sound of the beating wings. The starved and thwarted Darkstorm, for surely that was what the roiling black vortex was, raged for an instant longer, its energies churning, shrieking before it dissipated, its strange voice quieting until it was nothing more than a hushed whisper. Its darkness ebbed, no trace of it or the sad souls it had consumed remaining. The day is saved. Azeroth is not going to be plunged in darkness, ending the traveler's journey for now. The Naru had been restored, its prophecy fulfilled, and now it could rest. Before parting, Makasa broke the blade and gave each of the party one of the shards to hold. The crew agreed that no one person, no one side should wield the weapon. Makasa was the one to take the largest shard. They hailed the Stormwind, where she told the king that the blade had been shattered beyond repair in the battle against Malice. Varian is also informed about the hidden plot, the lengths that Aram and his friends has gone to stop the Burning Legion's latest attempt to destroy the world. A month later, Aram got a little gift on his doorstep. A dagger of folded steel, chased with gold filigree and real inset sapphires. A lion's head roared from the crossbar. A gift from the king to replace the blade they'd fought so hard to reforge. Great and Thorne, he decides to somewhat retire, stay in Stormwind as an advisor to the king. I do really wonder what he told him when the Legion expansion started, but I guess we'll never know. Makasa and Valdred, daughter and father, they decide to stay together. And 1 year later, a little reunion takes place at the Forever Tree, the grave of Drella. It was here where Aram decided to hide his piece of the blade, the roots of the tree drawing it closer to its heart. Now, a captain in her own right, Makasa invites her friends to join them on their ship, the Dryad it's called, and here it was where Aram felt like being home.
And over the course of his journey home, he's going to make friends. He's going to make friends with the most unlikely, motley assortment of exotic creatures, and in that way, ultimately find that, home is where the heart is.
It was right where he wanted to be, where they both belonged. Who knows where this ship is going to take them? Who knows what other journeys await for the traveler? And that's to say if they even want to continue the series, but I personally really enjoyed it. The mystery of what's going on with the Naru and the light it draws you in. The characters are nicely described, meaning that the emotional parts they hit all the harder. Some of the plot twists are a little bit predictable, but it didn't spoil the fun, and thankfully they were able to give it a decent ending, at least in my opinion. It also makes me curious for how dark the next novel is going to be. As part 3, it does not shy away from the darker torture stuff, things that we're going to discover in the future. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. If you're looking for some more details on all the things that we talked about today, then check out the Laid Wild article in the description down below. You could also decide to subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!